Hello everybody, welcome back to class 3 of the Duplicity handbag. Excuse my casual wear, I'm just needing to be comfortable today, so I'm in t-shirt and leggings and this is how we're gonna roll. Okay, so for homework last week, you would have done all of your lining panels, like just creating with your pockets and whatever. Put on your purse feet, and repeated what we did last class with the main panel into the other panel. Did all your rivet work, put on your nameplates, etc., etc. So this class, we're going to go ahead and we are going to get the exterior of this bag assembled. So yeah, again, this is a pre-recorded class. This is the July classes, which are pre-recorded. If you could please just put down in the comments that you were here and that you were that you watched this video at some point in time, that would be great, just so I can mark it down. And if you haven't already, please do tell me if you will be making this bag, so at the end of the year I know to come and look for you for pictures for when we do our year-end class movie. Okay, so let's get right to it. There is not any hard sewing here today. The hardest part is actually going to be putting on the bottom. But what's nice, yeah, it may seem ovalish, but really it's just a rectangle with curved corners, so it's not scary at all. So do not be scared of that. So let me take you to table down and then we will get started here. Okay, so we are working on page 10 of the pattern, step 13. So what we want to do, we're going to do these both at the same time. Again, it's like we're making two bags at once. So we're going to be working with our exterior B exterior bands. And we are going to repeat this with both. So we want to put these right sides together. Now where it's curvy on the bottom here, that's what you want to be facing downwards. And we are going to line up this edge right here and clip it in place. And we're going to do the same with the opposite piece. Again, making sure the straight edge is with the straight edge and the curvy part is pointing downwards. Line it up like so. And then we're going to go ahead and sew this in place with 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right. So 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, once you're done one side there. Where are my scissors? We are going to go ahead and we're going to bring this other side here up to this side here and put them together. And we're going to sew across that with 1/4 inch seam allowances. And then we're going to repeat with the other panel. Bring it up. Match up the other end. All right, so this is what that looks like so far. Now, I'm going to go ahead, and you can decide what you want to do here. I'm going to use some double-sided tape just to keep these seams open. because we will want them open to reduce that bulk. So I'm just going to go ahead and use some double-sided tape there to open up my seams. You can just hold them open with clips if you prefer, if you don't want to use the double-sided tape. This just helps keep things where it needs to be, in my opinion. So we want to have these seams all opened up. Oops, try not to cut your vinyl like I almost did there. My fingers do not want to work. I'm so cold today. I don't know why, because it's hot outside. It makes no sense. Come on, hands. There we go. We're about to see some sewing magic happen. This is what's going to form our two pouches of the bag for the exterior. So now what we want to do is we want to take both of our panels and we want to match up those seams nice and perfect. And you want to make a small snip within the seam allowance of the bottom center of that band and the top center of that band. So take your time to get this fairly accurate. You can mark it with a pen too if you prefer. So it's like that. Oops. What did I do there? There we go. Match up those seams, pull this nice and tight, and just snip. Okay, and I want to make sure I get this right. So we want to take our exterior A front, so the one that has the nameplate, and we want to turn this right side out, which it is like there. So it's right side out here. Then we're going to take our back piece and we want to put these right sides together. And we're going to go ahead and place them inside each other. So the right sides together. Okay, so I'm just going to put a couple clips on the top just to hold the center together here. We're not going to be sewing this top section yet. I just want to make sure it's going to stay in place right along there. And what we're going to do is same with here, kind of make it so these seams match up like so. Put a few clips on this top part here. We're not going to be sewing this top. This is just to hold it in place for now. Same with here. And then match up that top center there with a couple clips. Again, we're not sewing this top part. I'm just wanting it to stay in place. Now what we want to do is match up this bottom center along here of the two pieces. I'm trying to think if I'm going to be sewing this way. Okay. I'm actually going to take these out here now. You don't need these top seam ones here. You can take those ones out now. Match up the seams along this bottom. Same with this side. Match up that seam. Make sure it fits in there good. And there we go. Clip the bottom here. And then go ahead and match up all those raw edges and start clipping in between those. It does feel a little awkward at first. It'll be okay. Just make sure they're nice and even. Use lots of clips if you need to. You know I will be. I've got these ones going the wrong way. Make it fit. Make sure there's no puckers in there. I'm going to take these ones out now. I don't really need them to hold in place, and it's just going to make it a little bit easier to maneuver this with no puckers. There we go. Just put those first initial clips in just to kind of have everything situated where it needs to be, but then when you start getting around these curves, it's easier to undo them so you have a little bit more flexibility with making sure there's no puckers. Again, I'm using lots of clips because that is a curvy piece. Again, go around and make sure just where that seam is that we will not have any puckers at all. Right along that seam. There we go. Okay, and then we are going to sew all the way around where we just clipped with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So right along this curve. So take this nice and slow because you don't want it to slip at all. I'm going to go 3/8 of an inch. I'm kind of going to hold it up like this. I find that it helps a little bit just to get around that curve. Oops. You can kind of pull that curve around nice and flat. So from the one camera, you're just going to see the back of the bag. So this camera here is going to be the most helpful for viewing what I'm doing, I think. So again, we're just sewing that inside curve of the bag, making sure there's no nips, tucks, or puckers. Take it nice and slow. Coco says hi. I think I have a delivery guy here. Follow that curve nicely. So sorry for her barking. totally delivery guy here. Hopefully Brady gets the door. That's her protecting the house guard. Okay, I gotta answer the door. Please hold. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Good thing I have my needle down. Let's do this. Let's continue. So it shows you can stop. Around the corner. Nice and slow, make sure it's nice and smooth. Oops, dropping stuff on the floor. Follow that curve around perfectly. Home stretch. Okay. Right? See? Not hard at all. Now what we want to do, I'm just going to double check. Yeah, we want to trim the seam allowance up to about 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to go in with my pinking shears. Again, you can do scissors here and then just put notches around the curve if you wanted. I may be doing notches too. We'll see how we go. I really need to get some Kai pinking shears, I think. These ones are sold. This side. I should have first checked to make sure my stitches are holding, and they are. I always check in the seam there to make sure my stitches are not stretched, and if they were stretched I'd go and do another row of stitching, but mine are fine. Okay, so far so good. So now what we want to do is we want to take our bottom piece. Now we've already done our 4 centers on this, so make sure I'm doing this right. Yep. Clip exterior bottom C to exterior A, right sides together. So we have this and we have this. We're going to take this, we're going to put it down on the inside here, and we're going to match up that center. Now we're going to do this how I do all my oval bottoms. So we're going to do the 2 straight edges first, and then we're going to go back in and do the sides. I just find that helps to make sure you have a very little slipping. So just clip until it starts going curvy, which is right about where, just after where our connector connects here. So I say about 1/4 of an inch after that connector we will sew to. Same with on this side. Sure it looks right, nice and centered. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and sew right across there with a quarter of an inch. No, a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So we are going to do this whole bottom sitting at the machine. Just clean all this up. Okay, let's start with this first side. So again, just about 1/4 of an inch or so past the connector, and we're just going to do a straight line. We're not going to worry about those curves just yet. So 3/8 of an inch. Back stitch. Go all the way across to about the same place. Doing it this way, I just find you don't have that slipping around the corner. It's just I think it's just better. This is what works for me anyways. If you want to go all the way around, you're more than welcome, but I do mine in quarter sections. Okay, so that's one side done. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this and the other straight edge and match it to the other center and do the same thing and just sew across that straight edge. Just a little bit past that connector. Leaving the sides unsewn for now. Okay, and we'll sew down that straight edge with the 3/8 inch seam allowance. Kind of just squish her down like so. Just before it goes curvy. Oops, I took my clips out too soon. It's okay. Okay, so now we got those two sides in place. Make sure it was caught both sides. And now we can work on these side parts here. So you have the center of your bottom mark there, and you have your center seam. So you're going to kind of push your center seam open or to the side. I'm actually just going to push mine to the side. Match up that center. Use a couple clips to hold that in place. And then you're going to start to bring it around. You can see it's going to fit in there just perfectly. If you have a little bit of excess, you can always trim it off the bottom, but mine is going to fit in there pretty good, it looks like. See, there we go. Lots of clips to hold it. There's Coco again. I think Riley might be home now. That's her. One of my boys is home bark. My goodness. Can you tell the differences in her barks? It's crazy. Okay, so now we're going to sew from where we started and stopped sewing here, all the way to here to the other side. And we're going to have the dog serenade us while we do this. So 3/8 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. It'll round that curve. I am so sorry. The joys of being in a home studio. Okay. Work my way around. Take it nice and slow to get around that curve nicely. Kind of holding the bag up like this, I find helps when you go along that flat edge. A stiletto may help. Of course, I lost my stiletto, so I put my hand inside the bag. That's going to help me guide it around. Clip to clip, and I'm kind of feeling on the inside to make sure I have no puckers. Take it slow. There we go. take a look at your work. Make sure everything was caught on the other side. I can see I went a little bit off right here, but that's okay. I'm just going to trim that up. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to do the exact same thing with the opposite side. So match up that middle. Get that seam. And bring it around those corners. Now you can see how having that straight edge already done, how at least then it kind of has it somewhat evenly distributed, so you're not worrying about it slipping and then having excess in other areas because it has slipped. I just find doing it this way, and this way I do all oval bottoms, as you guys know. And this is a semi-rectangular oval bottom, so it just helps get around those curves. Okay. Push it in. Sometimes it's a little hard to see. I'm going to put my hand inside the bag again. Just because I can kind of feel and make sure things are staying where they need to be. From the inside of the bag, making sure there's no puckers. Uh-oh, and I slipped. So slipping can happen. It's because my clips came loose. No, it's okay. I got this. Okay, there we go. Make sure the needle is down. Ooh, my thread's doing funky things. That could be my problem. There we go. Save the day. Slipped a little bit. I'm just kind of moving it down. This is definitely where stiletto would help right here. Use my scissors. That was a little stressful for me. Nothing like it. Okay, but I don't think I have any puckers. Maybe a little one there, but I think it's okay. All right, so let's go back to the table. All right, so just kind of reach in and just go along the seams to make sure, with your finger, to make sure there are no holes. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and we are going, whoops, trim up these seam allowances. Now along the curves, you can see I'm not perfect. It slipped a little. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to go around these corners with my pinking shears, and I'm going to trim these up to about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance or so. If there's little excess like I have, not a big deal. This side I did a little better, but I can guarantee much less slipping doing it this way than the other way. Some people like to use staples. I've never liked it. I hate pulling the staples out afterwards. I'm always scared I'm going to miss them. So once around the curves, and then a little bit off the bottoms. Just reduce some of that bulk. Oopsies. Going a little too much. There we go. Okay, and then once you have that, go ahead and turn the bag right side out. Careful not to pull on this part too. This is what's going to be in the center of making the double pouch. My Decovil Heavy piece didn't want to stick too bad or very well, but that's okay. I'll take, what I'll do is, because this is starting to come off, is when the bag's done, I will heat up my wool mat and I will just kind of, with the iron, and then put the bag on top, and that'll kind of fuse it back down. So this little thing here should come into the middle and the rest should pop out. And they will look like they are sharing a bottom because they are. So it's kind of a weird feeling turning this one out. Now the good news is you won't have to turn this exterior out again because it's a drop-in lining. Here we go. Okay, so I did have a little bit of a, whoops, where are we? A little bit of a thing here, but it's okay. A little bit of a pucker right there, but I can live with it. It's not bad. Here's right where all my clips came off. This side is perfect. So you should have something that looks kind of like this and like this. Okay, and I just want to double check something in the pattern. Kind of jumping ahead here. Okay, so to finish up this exterior, what we are going to want to do is along these top edges, we want to make some lines at 3/4 of an inch seam allowance. So just along each of the perimeters. So I'm just going to go inside the bag like this, taking a ruler, and I'm going to draw a line at 3/4 of an inch. And this is because we're going to be folding under 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So half of 3/8 is 3/4. 1, 2, am I right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, my math is right. Just making sure. So go around and draw that all the way around the perimeter. Now another thing we could have done was done this before, but I didn't think about it. In the pattern it does it at the very end, but this definitely would have been easier to do before we sewed it together. I'm just going to go this way. So I'm just going to do one side with you, and then the other side will be homework, because I also want to show you how to do one of the lining panels, and then the other lining panel will be homework. Of an inch. Can't really, so you can just see I'm kind of going, just drawing on the inside of the bag, that 3/4 of an inch, and this is just giving me a line to fold to as a guide. You'll see what I mean here momentarily. We will need our double-sided tape and our clips. So now you can see I'm not drawing on this side yet. This side will be homework. It's actually pretty easy to draw on it. Okay, so once we have that line drawn, so this one I haven't done, you'll do this one for homework, this one we've done. I'm going to take some double-sided tape and we're going to put it along that edge that we just drew a line. I'm just going to put it along the top, like so. You want that seam open still if it's come unstuck. Put it loosely. You don't want the tape to be too tight so it's creating a shape to the bag. You just want it to go perfectly in line. Around. Okay. Brandy, don't use your Kais on your tape. Bad, Brandy. Okay, so now what we're going to do is start pulling the tape away. And you're going to fold that edge into that line, and that should be 3/8 of an inch to that line. And stick it down. Get a little section done, and then I'm also going to go ahead and put some clips there to hold it in place. Hardest part is right at that seam, because you want to make sure that seam still matches up. Down the line, like so. And this is forming that finished edge for when we go and do the drop-in lining. So see? Let's do that all the way around. And that double-sided tape will be outside of your top stitching, depending. Mine may not be because I'm using a thicker double-sided tape, but if you're using only a 1/4 of an inch double-sided tape and you're on a domestic, it shouldn't be a problem because it will be outside of the top stitch seam allowance. It definitely helps make this easier, trust me. So take your time to get it as even as you possibly can around that line. And these clips, we want it to hold it in place until we go to do that lining. Now, sometimes when you leave clips on a long time, it does leave little bumps, but you can just kind of take them off and you can take a blow dryer to it and kind of rub it and those bumps will go away. Or do this just before you do the drop-in lining and then it doesn't set there for so long. But we're not ready to do the drop-in lining yet. But I wanted to get this all situated and done. Or you can leave this till the end. We will do this exact same thing with our lining pieces. I just like to have it all situated and then it'll relax and get those bumps out of the vinyl later on. Okay. Don't like how that one's meeting. There we go. So for homework, you're going to do the exact same thing with the other side. So we have everything prepared for a dropping lining later on. Unless we get to that this class. We will see how far we get. So we have that all ready to go. One side. You can go ahead and you can put that aside for now. And again, the other side will be for homework. Okay, we are going to power through because I think we can get this done in 3 classes, just like the other one. Again, the other half of the bag you will do for homework, but I think we can finish off the front pouch. Then you're going to do the exact same thing with the back pouch, and then it's going to be done. So let's get her done. So one thing I'm going to do is you're going to take your lining outer and your lining outer top. Make sure you have it faced the right way so the wider side is facing you. And along that top edge, we're going to go ahead and we are going to draw that 3/4 inch line. This is what I could have done with the other one. It would have been easier and we wouldn't have had to draw it in that curve. So we're just going to do this one right now. Right across the top, 3/4 inch. We won't be folding that edge in just yet, but it's coming. Make sure she says 3/4 inch. Let me double check to make sure I have. I think she says 3/8. Yep. Okay. And same with our lining top inner piece. You want to make sure the curvy side is up. And I don't think, no, we will need to. Let me double check. Yeah. So we want to draw a 3/4 inch line on this one as well. So I'm going to do the straight part first because that's the easiest. Straight across. Oops. And then when it gets curvy, I just kind of go bit by bit around the curve at that 3/4 inch and kind of move my ruler as I go to follow that curve. See what I'm doing? 3/4. And it should almost perfectly match up to the end there. Okay, same with this side. Okay. Okay. So now what you want to do is you want to take one of your zipper panels that we did last class. And I am going to be working with the front section of my bag because that is the section that I have done. So my front section of the bag, I like to have my slip pockets at the front. And this one is going to be just plain at the back. When I do the opposite side, the back panel will have my zipper on it. So I'll put that at the back and then my plain one will be at the front. But really there's no wrong way. You could have how many ever pockets that you wanted on here. My client just wants one slip pocket in the front pouch and then wants her zipper pocket in the back pouch. So that's why I did what I did. Okay, so we've already marked our top and bottom centers here. We're going to take our zipper panel. We're going to fold it in half. And make sure it's nice and even. Important that it's even because we want a nice straight recessed zipper. And do a little snip on the raw side there. Same with the opposite side. We're going to make sure it's definitely centered. Yep. Okay, so we have our lining piece right side up. Let me move some of this stuff out of the way. We are going to take a recessed zipper. Now I haven't put my thing on here, but that's okay. I'm actually going to take my zipper pull off. We still have our lines on our back for when we go to put it back on. Okay, so we want it right, the lining is right side up and our zipper panel is right side up. And we're going to match up that center, double check that it is centered. And I'm perfectly centered. Clip that in place. Again, these are both right side up. And again, this is my back panel because I want my bag to close to the left. So this will be, if you want to think about it, this is the back of my front pouch. So it's going to go in like this. So my bag will be closing to the left. So just orientate it. Some people like to do it the opposite way, depending if you're left-handed or what have you. So okay, so you can go ahead and you can base that in place. I'm going to skip that step. I'm going to go right in. I'm going to go all in here. So we're going to take our, let me make sure your lining top outer, find your top and bottom centers. Okay, so this is going to be on like this. So we are going to add this into our clips. So you're going to bring this right sides together, match up that center, and then add it into the clips. Again, you can baste it beforehand. This is just skipping a step. Saves a little bit of time. Across this way. Okay, so we got that one done. We're going to take our other panel and it's going to be the same thing, both right side up, but you're going to see the curvy part will go to the right. And the way to know it's doing correctly is these will be like this. So our zippers start and stop here. So it'll be going the opposite direction. Match up that center. So it can be a little confusing because it does look like they're going the opposite way, but when they're like this, the zipper's going the same way. Okay, make sure it's centered, 1/4, and it's exactly centered. Then you're going to take your lining top inner and find your top and bottom centers. Wait, did I do that wrong? I did that wrong. Switch these around. So whichever thing you want on the inside, you want to put on this one. So I'm just going to switch these around. So because this is on my inner and it's going to be attached to this inner bar, because I want that at the back, you got to make sure you're using the inner panel there. That was almost, I would have had my pockets going the wrong way and I would have been very sad. So I'm just going to switch them around. It would have been okay. I just would have had one pocket not where I wanted it to be. So whichever one you want to be at the back of the front of the bag is the one you use this inner one with. So just like we did before, your top and bottom centers. Again, I could have edited that out, but no, we keep the mistakes in. Always keep the mistakes in, and we caught it before we sewed anything. So, okay. So, inner top band, because this is the one I'm going to have attached to this inner band here. Put her in. Okay, and then Same with this one. But with the outer. So we did that a couple times. Said, hey, it's best to double check. I would have been very upset. My pockets would not have been the way my client wanted them to be. We're going to double check once more just to make sure our thinking is right. Okay, so the way our thinking is going to be is this panel is going to be at the front of the bag. So here is the front of the bag. This panel is going to be like this at the back of the bag. So we can see everything is placed where we want it to be, and our zipper will be closing in the right direction. So we are on the right track. Next, what we want to do is we are going to sew across both of these, making sure our tail is out of the way at, let me double check, lining pieces, top of the zipper with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So let's take it over to the machine and get that done. All right, whoops, my chair put far away. Should have off my cameras. Now we don't have to put a zipper foot on here or anything because it is going to be far enough away from our zipper that it's not going to cause a problem. So I'm going to chain sew these together, 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Just saves me on having to cut thread. Okay. Cut these apart, and then while we're at the machine, we're also going to top stitch these. So what we want to do is we want to top stitch them in such a way that we're top stitching through the lining here. So you're going to put everything up like so. So you're going to take this seam, we're going to put it down so it's pointing towards the lining. Your top band and your recessed zippers are pointing up, and we are going to top stitch through the lining right here for both. Okay, make sure it's nice and tight. Top stitch, whoops. Make sure that seam is staying where it needs to go. Tension is good, and it is. This one, and you can do the other one at the same time, again making sure your tail is out of the way. You don't want to accidentally be sewing through that. Okay, lining panels are almost done. Let's go back to the table and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so this is what we got so far. So now what we want to do is we want to take these two and put them right sides together. We're going to make sure that our seam matches up here so we have a nice fluid line, nice fluid transition so they're nice and even. So right at that seam first, I'm going to clip it. And then clip it to the top. And down the side, we're not going to worry about these box corners right now. We're just going to, I'm going to move my camera a little bit. Sorry, guys. There we go. Then I don't have to lean over my table so much. There we go. That's better. Do the same with the other side. Make sure your tails are tucked in. You don't want to accidentally sew them. Match where our lining and our top panels meet so they're nice and fluid, like so. See how they're going to be nice and even there? Clip that in place. Down the side. I'm gonna have to grab another bowl of clips. I just emptied this one. I think I got one over here. Okay. And we're also going to clip along this bottom. My bottom edge is a little uneven here. I'm just going to snip that, match up that center, and clip along the bottom. Now these corners we will box at the machine as well. This lining is so easy to do and so fast. Let me just double check the seam allowance. I believe it's 3/8. Yes, 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so we're going to go down the side, the bottom, and up this way with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, so 3/8. The other side. Dexter says hi. Okay, so you can go ahead and trim the seam allowance up to 1/4 inch if you want. I'm not going to worry about it. Oh my goodness, Dexter. So now we are going to box these corners. So to do that, we're going to open this up and we're going to bring this side seam and this bottom seam together, and we are going to nest them side by side, just like you do in quilting. So match up that seam and have one of the seams going in one direction and the other seam going in the other direction. You can open them up as well if you want to. Hold it together with clips. And then we're going to sew that with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So you kind of press it flat, like so. And we'll trim this up here when we go back to the table. Now we're going to do the same with the other side. You just got to make sure that your seam, especially your bottom seam, is going in the same direction as it was on this side here. So open it up, bring your seams together, make sure your bottom seam is going in the same direction as the opposite side, or open your seams up, completely up to you. Open it up, and then sew across that with the 3/8 inch seam allowance. Oh, I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. And across. Okay. And that's it. We can go back to the table now. Okay, so there we go. So you can see it's kind of shorter on this side. That's what we want. When we look inside, our zipper panels should be lining up pretty good, which mine are. You could always go ahead and put the zipper or the zipper pull on to check that. I'm not going to worry about it. I think we are okay. We're looking pretty even. Okay, so I am going to trim down our box corners just a little bit. Okay, and where our seams are here, I'm going to use some double-sided tape just like we did on the exterior to open up that seam. Just help hold it open. I'm using my Kai scissors on my double-sided tape again, you guys. Don't let me do that. Let's bring these out. Bad, bad, bad. We're almost done this side of the bag, and the other side goes together the same way. So this is a super fast bag to make. It's not hard at all. Okay, so I'm going to open up that seam like so. I'm actually just going to put a few snips right here. You can see how it's fighting it a little bit, but if I just put a few little snips like that, that'll help it lay flat. So just within the seam allowance. Now where this one is coming over a little bit, I'm just going to trim that like so. And it's only because this is a slightly different shape than that opposite side. So again, do this first. Is just above that there, just above like where our seams meet. I'm just going to do a little slit like that before the stitches, and it's just so I can open this up separate from everything else. Just to help hold that seam open, because it will make our life so much easier. Trust me. Again, you can always use clips to hold it open too. This just gives me a little extra peace of mind. You can see where that little snip is. It just helps open this up. And then right here, where it's a little bit uneven, I'm just going to trim that up like so. Okay. And now, all along that line that we did, we're going to take some double-sided tape. Where's my end? Put it all along the top. We're going to do exactly like we did with that exterior and fold this down to that line. Except for we're doing it opposite. So I haven't turned this out. This is the exact direction we want it to be in. So the wrong side is out. Follow with your double-sided tape all the way around. Come on. Again, I'm using really thick double-sided tape. You don't need to use a 1/2 inch like I'm doing. I'm running low on my 1/4 inch, and I have to place an order with Galaxy Customs for more soon. So just using what I got and saving my 1/4 inch for my zippers. Okay, I'm going to cut this right here because it's not liking going around that curve for me. I'm going to start my tape again here. I just love how this bag looks like it's so complex, but it's really not, and it comes together so fast. Okay, so just like we did with the exterior, we're going to go ahead and start folding that into the line. Lining's a little bit easier to do. We've already drawn the line, which I wish we had done before we sewed the last part or the exterior together. It just makes things easier, but I forgot. Okay. Again, the hardest part is always where that seam is. Down and in. Make sure there's no pucker. See, I got a little bit of a pucker there on the inside part. So just make sure it's nice and flat. That's better. We're going to have to make sure that our zipper stays down and out of the way when we go to sew this in. Your time to get that shape really good. Stick it down, and I'm not using clips right now because we are going to clip this in right away. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure you press your zipper panel down and out of the way, and your tails are out of the way. Now we're going to take our exterior, so I'm going to make sure my tails, if you're working with the front, are on the left or the right hand side, and I'm going to drop this in like so into that front section where we've already folded down the edges. Okay, and we're going to have to use our center seams. Oh, maybe not. How am I going to do this? Okay, so you can see right here, we have our center back there, and you can see where we clipped our center back here. So I'm going to kind of make sure that those are somewhat lining up like so, see, like that, and then bringing those folded edges over, and you want them to be as even as possible because we're going to be top stitching this in place. Same with on this side, look for that center notch at the bottom there and that center notch at the bottom here. And kind of bring them as even as they can be, like so. And then make sure those folded edges are nice and even. See how just make sure I'm not missing anything here before we go any further. Yeah, so you're just going to evenly distribute that all the way around, bringing those edges as even as they can be all the way around. And then adding them into the clips we already had holding our seam down on the exterior. So as even as they can be. But can you see how we don't have to turn this, which is amazing? Just kind of want to pull, okay. So the center line here, you're gonna have to kind of eyeball it to make sure it's going where it needs to go. I'm one that likes to have my quarter sections marked, but I don't think it's going to let us do that this time. But it should just follow all the way around. We will find out. Again, when we're sewing this, we're going to want to make sure we're not accidentally sewing through those zipper panels. So you're going to just have to be hyper aware of where those are. I think it's working. out of the way there. Lots of clips because you don't want these to slip apart from each other. Okay, and I have excess fabric here for some reason. That's good. You know what? I think it's going to help to have the zipper on to make this lay better, so we can make sure it is nice and centered. So I'll show you how I do this. I got my handy dandy fork. So I haven't made one. There's my fork. There's my zipper pull. I'm going to take my two tail ends. Put them through. And if those lines match up, they should be pretty even. Which mine is. So yes, you can see how putting that zipper pull on is going to kind of hold it a lot more even and help me distribute this fabric better. Because I don't have that quarter section to mark it, I just got those half sections. It looks like I have excess, but I can evenly distribute it around with that zipper on. Stick that tail down here. See what I mean here? It looks like I have too much, which means I have to redistribute evenly. Which is okay. So if I pull this nicely, like so, there we go. Take your time here, as you see I'm doing. You want to make sure it is perfect. You can see as I'm working it, it is getting more and more even. There should be no excess fabric between the two. It's just a matter of making sure it clips around properly, and then you evenly distribute it everywhere. A little bit of massaging. There we go. But yeah, definitely put that pull on first, and it's going to hold that zipper panel out of the way. I'll put my zipper end on after the fact. You could do it beforehand, but I'm too committed to what I'm doing right now to do that. So lots of clips, because again, you want to make sure that this is nice and even for our top stitch. There we go. Coco says hi. Oops, I'm dropping stuff on the floor. There we go. That's looking better. It's amazing how you can have like so much excess at first, but then as you kind of manipulate it, I'm still going to manipulate this side, so hopefully I can. Few clips out, just because that side's good, and just evenly bring it around. A little finagly, but it'll work out, I promise. It's all looking nice and centered in there still, which is good. Almost there. Oops. I know some people sometimes stick them with double-sided tape. I think it's just like, instead of what I'm doing with the clips, I think the clips is better because you've used a lot of double-sided tape already. Okay, so Make this more, there we go. Look at that. We got her to fit. No excess. Woohoo! Always worries me because it looks like there was so much excess, but there isn't at all. It's just how it was placed in here. A little bit more to go. Massage, massage, massage. Whew. We're there. We've done it. And you can see I've used a ton of clips, but double check that your 2 layers, you see that? Oh, where's my camera? They're nice and even. You don't want them to slip because we are going to be top stitching this. Now, how did she say to do it in the pattern? So, there's a couple ways of doing this. If you have a free arm or a cylinder arm, like I'm going to do on my cylinder arm, you're going to go ahead and you're going to top stitch all the way around with a 1/4 inch seam allowance just around the center part. If you're on a flatbed, you can always do this trick, which will be hard, or make sure your bobbin thread is good and top stitch from the inside, moving your bag around this way, making sure this is out of the way when you come to that back side to do that. That is the way I would have done it before I had my cylinder arm. So that'll definitely work for you. But I'm going to take it to my cylinder arm. And again, if you have a free arm, you can do it my way. But yes, if you're on a flatbed, definitely do it from the inside, making sure all of this part is folded out of the way and go all the way around. So I got to go and thread my machine, and then we will move over and move my camera so we can go over to the cylinder arm and finish this. All right, so let's get this done. Guys, let me know what you think of this angle at the cylinder arm. Usually I had it going from the other side, but tell me if you can see what I'm doing better here. Okay, so I'm going to put it at quite a high stitch length just because we are going through a lot of layers here. I'm actually going to start at the back just because I want to be holding this part back. So I'm going to start in that middle section. Again, we're going around with a 1/4 inch. Might have to undo the zipper a little bit to be able to get the cylinder arm in there, but make sure your zipper panel is out of the way. A 1/4 inch. Needle down. Take a deep breath. Be very aware. Now you can see, can you guys see what I'm doing here? Let me just move this up a little. Here we go, that might be better. So I've got this all moved out of the way. And I'm going to be checking here to make sure everything is staying where it needs to be. Nice and even, take it nice and slow. Go clip by clip. I'm just kind of looking in the side here to make sure we're staying even. Take out 2 more clips, pull it tight, make sure we're still nice and even. Make sure I'm feeling inside to make sure my panels or my zipper panels are staying where they need to go. You also want to make sure your bobbin thread is good. How is mine? Mine looks good. Okay. Because you can see it on both sides, so. Might get a little thick at the seam. You may need a hump jumper. I think I'll be okay. I'm using Canuck vinyl, so it's not like, it's domestic friendly, so it's not super thick, so my machine has no real issues with it. Stay nice and even. And this is a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Top stitch. See, I'm not going very fast at all. Just gotta make sure I am recording. I am. Good. One thing with my camera behind me, I'm always paranoid I forgot to hit record. Okay, and I'm at the front of the bag now, so I want to make sure this is as perfect as it can be because it's front and center and what everybody will see. Don't go fast. Take it nice and slow. You don't have to go fast here. Make sure your needle's down if you need to kind of move things around. Almost there. Almost there. I truly just love how fast the drop-in lining is because it's out of the... It's almost like you're skipping 2 steps because you don't have to turn it out and you don't have to sew it together and then turn it around, and it's awesome. And it really truly saves your arms when you have carpal tunnel like me. And makes doing these double pouch bags so easy. Come to the end, back stitch. Check out our work and make sure we did it right. Back to the table. Okay, so that is done. Looks pretty good all the way around. You can kind of go in between the layers here, just gonna pull them away just to make sure everything was caught. I think if you wanted to make a bigger, you could always go around with another 1/8 of an inch if you want, but it turned out pretty good. So that is one pouch done. That is all done up. See how perfect it looks? So all that's left to do with this one is to put your metal zipper end on the end. You may want to trim the tail up. I'll probably leave my tail this long. I think it'll be okay. And put that on. You're going to do the other side and the other lining the exact same way. So I'm not going to do that with you. We just did all that. You can go ahead and do that. And then all that's left to do is to rivet your handles on, and then this bag is completely done. How easy was that? So you can see it looks super complex. It gives you an idea, if I just squish it, what it's going to look like when it's all done. Fast sew. I mean 3 classes, not even full classes. This one is an 1.5 hours long, and it is the longest of them all for the 3. So it just shows how fast a drop-in lining will go. So this side will look exactly the same as this side. You put it together exactly the same. And I'm gonna let you guys do that on your own because I know you can do it. What did you think? Pretty good make, hey? So you can see how good it is. Said I haven't made one in a while, and it just, I was so happy this one, well, it didn't get voted in, I chose it, so, because this one is a client bag, so she is so happy she'll be getting this one. Anyways, I really do hope you guys enjoyed this class. If you need any help, please do reach out to me. All my information is down below. Again, I will not be available July 27th to 31st as I am out of town. I may answer messages, but if I'm slow to answer, that is why. For 2023, depending when you're watching this. Yeah, so again, this is like 2 bags in one, and the drop-in lining just makes things so amazingly fast. again, 3 classes. I'm actually shocked that 3 classes. And you saw it took an hour to do this, to put together the whole exterior. It maybe took 15 minutes to do this lining panel, maybe 20. So that's all that's left to do this, and then putting on those straps. So I have faith in you guys that you can do that on your own. And yeah, congratulations everybody on your duplicities. Make sure that you post your pictures when you get it done on the page in the Duplicity album. I don't know if I have one of those set up yet. I'll have to set up an album, or just post it to the page and I will do it. I'll move it for you. And again, reach out to me if you had it. Please do let me know what you thought about all of these new angles with the new setup. This is the first class that's been filmed with the new setup. So you guys are like my guinea pigs, so I appreciate you so much. Anyways, yeah, so the last week of July, we have no classes because we finished the tumbleweed tote in 3 weeks, and we finished this one in 3 weeks. So we will reconvene in August. For Tuesday, we'll be making the Cassia satchel by Quaint Stitch, and the Thursday, the free pattern by Deja Designs, which is the Michaela crossbody. Also, make sure you grab your September. Is it September? No. Quaint Stitch, there's still a coupon code for that one that's good until the 30th of this month. So make sure you go and grab that and vote for the September bags. Anyways, thank you so much, guys. Again, I appreciate you so much for letting me do pre-recorded classes for July. I hope this format will work in December. It's just been so nice to work part-time and be off work by 1 o'clock every day just for those 2 months, because they are like my holiday months. So it really just helps me recharge. Anyways, thank you so much. Again, make sure you put down in the comments that you watched this video, and if you haven't already, let me know if you are making this bag. Even if you've done this after the fact, after the class is over, just let me know. Anyways, thank you everybody, and I will see you guys in August. Bye.